What's up, creepers and geekers? It's Chris, the Atari Creep. How is everyone doing today? So I want to go back. I want to go back to a simpler time, a time of super simple fun, and a day when you purchased a video game. Not only did you get your video game cartridge, but the box contained what we in the guitar industry call case candy extras. Cool little things. Things you don't see today. Mainly because the internet has kind of destroyed the need for something like this. Information is readily available at the click of a friggin' button. But back when I was a kid and we pulled out our game cartridge, oftentimes there would be extra stuff on top of the manual, which were beautiful in itself, and we will get to those here in the very near future, which is the genesis of why I'm even doing this to begin with. But we would get these little catalogs previewing games that we may or may not have already heard about, things coming down the line in the future. And just wanted to have a real fun, quick look at a few that I have. Chances are, if you collect retro video games, especially Atari and Television Coleco games from that era, you have enough of these to wallpaper your bathroom. But I don't see too many people talking about these, nor the actual manuals that came with some of these games, because they were interesting. They were an art form in themselves, and it looks like they took a lot of great care to make sure they were quality. Again, something we don't see too often anymore. So I just wanted to look at a couple of just common catalogs of upcoming games and see what we have to look forward to in the future. So I would be a complete knucklehead, which I am, if I didn't start with the most common and obligatory catalog that any collector has in their collection. Now, of course, it's the Atari Catalog. From what I can recall, the biggest, probably most colorful. This one's from 1981. Yep, Atari Inc., 1981. And again, chances are you have a ton of these. Something got lost in time with technology and modern conveniences. And you just don't see cool stuff like this anymore. Come on. How can you beat that? This would look amazing on the side of a 77 Dodge trade-in van. Are you kidding me? You don't get any more period piece than that right there. You get this giant wizard guy overseeing all of the greatness. Some mechanical nightmares over here. A Wild West gunman. Amazing stuff. Some boring chess and checkers and board games, but people are into that. Sportsy stuff. You know, you got a basketball player, you got a soccer player, and a guy who's trying to sniff an armpit. I don't know. Cars, hot rods, whatever you want to call them. Just fantastic stuff like this. The extra care that went into getting you excited about what was basically simple blocks on a screen. Of course, you have your categories. Can't forget about that. I mean, this is needless stuff right here, but this is just awesomeness. I would love to have this on my wall if I wanted to tear one of these up. But Pac-Man? Have you ever seen a happier Pac-Man? No. It's got dimples. So they break it down into categories oftentimes. In this case, here we are with the skill gear. Like, come on, look at that. Tell me that doesn't make you want to buy Super Breakout. Again, we're not going to go through them all. Pac-Man. I already made a video on this. I'm not going to talk about it. Just shows games that are either coming out or already out. Little screenshot on the bottom to realistically show you what you're getting. But you have this imagination-making imagery on the top here. Again, needless art, but it's so welcome. So welcome. God. To see something like this today, it would blow your mind. It really would. Come on. Let me tell you something about Space Invaders. I don't want to go into game reviews. The Atari 2600 version of Space Invaders is probably my favorite of all time. If I were to play any, it would always be this one. In fact, I got the SD card for my Atari Portable solely so I could play this on the go. Amazing game. Just really fun stuff to go through. Maybe some games you've forgotten about. Maybe you forgot about Night Driver, or Indy 500. Indy 500 is an underrated game, too. So you have all your different categories, and you can easily just go through. Again, more needless art, but it's very welcome. And, of course, accessories. who wouldn't be complete without their huge hunks of plastic to put your other huge hunks of plastic into? I mean, this is just a spectacle of awesomeness. And that's really all there is to this one. Just, preview of games, and that's that. Next, the king of Atari 2600 programming, Activision. If you recall, Activision was started by a bunch of cats who felt they were being ill-used by the Atari Corporation. So they went off and made a third-party development company, the first of its kind, and they went on to do amazing, amazing things. And the reason I even bring that up is because it's important. There's something in here I want to note. First and foremost, we're looking at the fall of 1982's lineup and coming attractions, which is great. And it's also featuring their first Intellivision games, which again goes back to that, if you're learning the history of all this madness and coolness, you can refer to little things like this just to get a little tidbit of information. Fall of 82 is when they started talking about Intellivision games and branching out from just Atari products. So, again, more of the same, just on a smaller scale. They got some terrifying thing talking about in Christmas. You'll experience another new Activision game that is so amazingly realistic, that you'll actually believe we put you in a game. That's some creepy shit. You remember that movie Nightmare with Emilio Estevez? It was an anthology movie, but I believe the last one was him playing a video game and getting sucked into it. Some scary stuff. All the classics you remember here. Mega Mania, Pitfall, Kaboom. One of my top 3 favorite Atari games. One of my top 10 favorite games of all time to play with a joystick. Chopper Command. You can never go wrong with Chopper Command. And this just gets you excited about going to Child World or KB Toys or whatever you had and just picking up. Amazing stuff. Going back to creators, Activision started actually introducing the idea of putting the developers' names not only in the description in the catalog, but they were also on the box and in the manual. They had a picture and a little dossier of them, and then they would give you the little tips on how to excel within the game that they had programmed. Just really, really interesting, innovative stuff. Thank God for Activision. Activision, I think, is probably almost more important than Atari themselves when it comes to how video games are done, so to speak. Not necessarily games themselves, but the actual everything surrounding it. It's just great stuff. Fishing Derby. Boring game by yourself, but as a 2-player game, just equally as addictive as Pong. Stuff for you car guys, and if you want to just play checkers instead of pulling out the old board. And introducing Activision for the Intellivision. This is great stuff. Now, I find it interesting that they decided to put what at the time was a brand new game next to a huge classic game. Stampede I always associate with Atari. In fact, I didn't even know it was on the Intellivision until probably the late 90s, early 2000s. Because I didn't really do much with Intellivision. But Pitfall, for some reason, I've always associated with Intellivision and not so much Atari. Though, when I play Pitfall these days, it's always on the Atari. I think mainly because I had a friend whose brothers had an Intellivision in their bedroom. And Pitfall was one of the games. It was the first time I ever played it on an Intellivision system. So, whenever they weren't home, I would sneak in there. I'd play that. I'd probably play like Lock and Chase or something like that. Can't remember offhand. I just knew if I got caught, I would have gotten beaten up. So, Pitfall's such a great game. And another thing that you don't see anymore, actual achievements, something tangible to hold in your hand. You can get your Xbox achievement points or whatever, but this you could put on your jacket and proclaim, I fucking rule. End of story. I saved the chicken. What did you do today? I saved the chicken. Just great stuff. Activision, we love you, buddy. Yes, a Magic. Always went to the beat of their own drum. A Magic was like, to me, like that one company that had like the darker feel to them. The cartridges were just sexy as hell. I mean, they were probably one of the best looking cartridge designs ever for that time period. And their game art it really did scare me at the time. I was like, oh my God, am I going to get into some... You got to also remember this is during the satanic panic of the 80s. And Dungeons and Dragons were making kids supposedly kill each other and themselves. And that's what this stuff reminded me of. But you know what? Magic went the next step further and turned this into kind of a layout kind of deal. And on this side, we have Intellivision. On this side, we have the Atari stuff, and we got some great artwork on the top. We have some probably naughty pictures here. A lot of these don't look like the Atari ports of them. I can tell you right now that's not Demon Attack on the Atari. But it's just real beautiful stuff. And the artwork on the top, these bats. I think there's a better version of it over here. These bats, I wouldn't mind getting that tattooed on me. I have a whole lot of room on my left arm. And that is Halloween themed, so maybe that'll be my next set of ink. And come on, look at this. This chick is about to get crushed to death. And Magic gave 0 fucks. A little dragon with a bonnet. It's awesome. This is just, I love going down this memory lane. And, of course, they had their own storage. They also had their own demo unit, too, that would go into stores that would host, I think, 10 of their cartridges. And you just hook up an Atari to it, and it had that chrome with the rainbow look to it. I almost got my hands on one a while ago, but never came to be. And who could forget, if you send in a few bucks, you can get some cool shit. In this case, they would give you a huge poster of the box art. I would love to have a Demon Attack poster. You know what? Maybe I'll take a photocopy of this and send in $2 because that's what it says. It says, okay, here, check my money order for $2, blah, 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 payable to this person. The Magic Numb Thumb Club. Love that shit. See, Atari, you can get one for Demon Attack, Firefighter, Riddle of the Sphinx, Star Voyager, Atlantis, Trick Shot, and Cosmic Arc. You can get one from Microsurgeon. That'd be cool. You know, maybe I will take a copy of this and send $2 just for fun to this address and see what happens. I know I won't get a poster, but it'd be interesting to see what happens. Maybe. You know, the sad thing about the catalogs is they did slowly start going away, and we started seeing that during the 8-bit era of video games, and it continued into the 16-bit, and then eventually the catalogs started disappearing, where catalogs turned more into a poster, where it would have the cover art on one side, which was always cool. But on the other side, it would have what's coming or what else was available. And it would highlight, whatever they felt was important at the time. And it just didn't have the same appeal as this. Not to mention, you could put that poster on a wall. Eventually, your mom would rip it down when cleaning your room. And then it'd be lost forever. But Sega, for their Master System, came out with a catalog. This came with the a launch of the Sega Master System. I don't know how long they continued creating the catalogs, but I know once it came down to the Genesis time period, they didn't really do much as far as catalogs. Individual companies would put their own spin on it in the games, but here we obviously have a representation of pretty much what we've already seen, but with Sega. And this is interesting. The Sega System. So it's the Sega System. And notice here they say Sega System of Entertainment. I wonder if that was a big fuck you to Nintendo. I know I'd be pissed too. They had this illegal stronghold. But more of the same, just a little information. A couple of really cool screenshots. Ghost House. That's a really fun game. It's frustrating, but it's a fun game. Transbot, must have. Fantasy Zone. Oh my god. I like this game so much. I not only have a copy of it for my Master System, but I downloaded it to my 3DS. One of the greatest ports of Choplifter ever. Second advertisement for Black Belt, I just noticed. And then showing that they have some shooting games, and that's as simple as it gets. So guys, I hope you really did enjoy this non-scripted, real quick look at something that you just don't see anymore. And I notice people don't talk about them too often. I know Classic Game Room has goofingly brought these out and talked about them in Mark's really great style. But, I search on YouTube. I don't see too many of these being looked at. But the reason I actually brought these out, and it wasn't initially going to be my video, I plan on taking the stack of manuals that I have for these older games and doing a video on each one individually. These things, here, let me pull one out, Defender. That's the one that started the whole idea. These instruction books are second to none. I mean, we're not going to sit here and read the whole thing like story time. I'm not going to do that. But the artwork that was put into these things, more importantly, the stories behind the games. These guys were smoking some quality shit when they wrote some of these things. So I want to periodically brief on all these game instructions that I have laying around doing nothing. I mean, we all know how to play these games, and these are just basically sitting in a bin or on a shelf somewhere or in the boxes themselves. And just show, the art that went into not only just the game, but what came with the game and what elevated you to really get excited about playing the games. I mean, you could look at those games today as rudimentary and they're very primitive. And kids probably today are like, well, that's all they had, so I could see why they get excited. But it wasn't just the game. It was all of this stuff. Atari Force, I mean, it's sad that we only got 5. I think it was 5 issues of this. Yard's Revenge had its own comic book. Just great stuff that you would never see today unless it was a special super duper edition of something that would cost way too much money. As a matter of fact, these 3 things right here were in my box of Defender. That's what came with Defender. You bought a game that was awesome, and then you got all this awesomeness. So, guys, I hope you're looking forward to my look at all the different instruction books I have for these games. And I'll try to pick out the ones that are more fun, I got stacks and stacks of them. So look forward to the next couple of weeks of me maybe trying to do at least 1 a week. Maybe 2 a week. I don't know. I might try to do a schedule Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's my goal. So, guys, again, I hope you enjoyed this look back at some really cool literature that used to get packed in with our games. That just basically helped us get excited about the whole thing and added to the whole experience. Guys, thank you, as always, so much for watching. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. My channel keeps gaining a couple subscriptions every day. Thank you all so much for subscribing. That's means a lot to me. It means a lot to me. It's a shit show of a channel, but people keep coming, so that's great. Good things are coming, I promise. I'm getting motivated again, and so we should have plenty of coolness. Go ahead and leave feedback down below. Thumbs up, thumbs down. All feedback to the creep is always positive. Until next time, guys, take care, and bye-bye.